Hey, welcome back to another interesting episode. This one's gonna be very fun. I'm excited for this one. I know I said about the last one, but like this one is a little bit of nostalgia in there too. So I am Derek Mata.
And I am Andrew Goody, and we are proud of you. This is a parenting advice podcast. This is going to be a bit more of a parents fighting over media podcast and not in the way that you expect. Derek found this lovely, wonderful Disney Pixar bracket, and I'm sure all of you have seen one of these. Derek out here burning the forest to the ground. I have mine on my computer.
My
But
setup is my setup
we'll
is not
I'll
ideal for this.
I'll throw it up on the screen and we'll have it come in and out as we're talking about it here. But Derek and I were talking about media, and we're going to do an episode on screen time, and we decided to push that one down the road a little bit because that's going to be a whole different fight. And it's a fight that every
Yes.
parent has had with their parents, with their grandparents, with their friends, with that one mom on Instagram. Um, but this is gonna be a better fight. This is gonna be what is the best Disney Pixar movie. Um,
And and what I like about this one is it's a lot of the stuff that like you and I grew up with. You
it's
know,
it's a
the
nice mix. It's a nice mix of stuff from the early '90s up through I not current. I think the most recent film on here is Coco. Maybe
no,
Finding Dory.
no, Moana? I think no, I don't know. Like I don't know when these
Yeah,
come
yeah,
out.
yeah. I think you're right. I think it might be Moana. I think Moana's on here. I forgot Moana was on here. Um, but yeah, no, it's a good spread. And it's interesting too. A lot of these, and there are some. The first one, I'll say it now. The first one, Lion King versus Lilo and Stitch, hard beat right off the bat, right?
It's
Like there
it's
are
such a
there are a lot of these
terrible
different
starting
brackets out there, and
matchup.
there are a lot of really challenging ones. But I think that's one of the few. I mean, and this is all subjective, right? My
Hmm.
favorite movies and Derek's favorite movies, and also the funny thing about this will be uh having our wives listen to this episode of the podcast and yell at us about how wrong we are about the movies that we like.
Bef-
Because I
Before
know
I
it's already gonna. I know there's already a few of these on here that I'm gonna throw out Emily's favorite movie in the first round.
like I on my way down here, I was being told what movies were better than, and I'll get to them when we get to them.
Oh
And
yeah,
I was like, no, you have to break the movie down into certain scenes of the movie and what makes it possibly better than the other one.
I love it. So yeah, awesome. Well, let's get right into it. No messing around. Do you want to? I will say, do you want to start on the Disney side or do you want to start on the Pixar side?
I mean, you threw out the first one. Like you have to
We
start,
gotta. I'm an American. I read left to right. So let's top left first bracket: Disney Pixar, Lion King versus Lilo and Stitch.
which is an
Uh,
unfair matchup. Like you said, like there's no contest here.
man, okay, I agree, but I think we're gonna say a different thing.
Really,
I think it's Lilo and Stitch, hands down.
what? No,
Yep,
no.
hands down. Lilo and
Explain,
Stitch.
please.
Lilo and Stitch is a complex, inclusive movie about unity and family coming together through hardship. Uh, a big sister stepping up to take on a parenting role. There's subtext. There's like fan conspiracy theories. It's inarguably one of the best Disney movies ever made. Don't get me wrong. I think Lion King is also a phenomenal movie. Lion King is Hamlet with Disney characters, and Shakespeare was an incredible, wonderful writer. But overall, I love Lion King, and I think that a strong argument could be made that it is a better movie. But if I sit down in front of the TV tonight, the chances of me putting on Lilo and Stitch and Lion King, if I see those two options in the animated thing on Disney Plus, the odds of me choosing Lion King over Lilo and Stitch are very, very low.
And for those listening, like I am shaking my head in absolute disgust. Like, and okay, so I get where you're coming from. Like, and maybe when I first watched Lilo and Stitch, like I missed a lot of those things that were actually made that made the movie, because we're going with movies, we're not going with the TV shows.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but just I think if we broke it down to characters, I think Stitch ruins it for me. the
Really?
main character of the like he's just so annoying and like I feel like he doesn't
Man.
offer a whole lot to the
The
entire
the character
series.
the character growth of Stitch is going from being a literal monster to finding his humanity and his ohana and becoming a part of a family and wanting to be a good guy instead of an evil monster. The character development of Simba is being a whiny brat who's sad that his dad died
Yes, exactly.
and runs away from all of his problems
Okay, have you
to
you're an
reluctantly coming back to get the girl.
listen, we're all adults here. We all run away from our problems. I mean that's fair. I'll give it to you that one, but I'll say for since we each have different bracket sheets going on, I will say for mine it's Lion King. You know, I think it's the music too. Like there's a lot of singing and dancing. And you're like, you got to think like Hakuna Matata. To this day, I still use that for like my Venmo screen name because
You
I
ever want to
mean,
send Derek money?
if you want to, or you can request money. I won't give it to you because I don't have any. But like I've used that Hakuna Mata many for a lot of different screen names because it works.
Because it sounds
But
like your name. You
exactly.
like that song because it sounds like your last name. That's what you're saying, right?
Well, I liked the song, and then I was like, hey, as I got older, I
Yeah.
was like, hey, it works. But like, I think Lion King is a better movie,
It's
just
great. And like
overall.
somewhere my mom is listening to this podcast screaming because she loves to tell the story about taking me to see Lion King in theaters when I was like, I don't know, that movie came out when I was like 2 years old. I was an infant or toddler at the time when that movie came out, and my mom took me to the theater, and like one of her core memories is me literally like dancing and jumping up and down in her lap in the movie theater. um, and it's a great movie. It's just not as good as Lilo and Stitch for me personally.
I'm very disappointed.
Man, there's so much depth and there's so much like I don't know, man. It's just such a good movie. And I will say, as far as like Disney Channel original songs that you like associate with a movie, you're absolutely right. Lion King slaps. Just can't wait to be king. Uh, Whatever the one that Scar does, be prepared. Like Hakuna Matata, obviously, phenomenal, phenomenal. Lilo and Stitch is all like banger Polynesian Hawaiian music and Elvis Presley tracks. You can't complain about the soundtrack of that movie.
I mean, you got me there. I think, like I said, it just Stitch ruins it for me. It just ruins the
Yeah,
whole experience, and I miss a lot of what you explained.
yeah, different strokes for different folks, man. I love Stitch. I think Stitch is a beloved household character. Not that Simba isn't, but all right. So
I
already our brackets look different. I'm gonna have to split this out into the Derek bracket and the Goody bracket
we're
because
gonna have
we're
to, and
we're already
also this
off.
marker is not ideal writing utensil, but that's all I have in here right now. Um,
All right. So bracket number one, you went Lion King. I went Lilo and Stitch. Bracket number two, Wreck It Ralph versus Mulan.
okay, so this one is unfair because I've never seen Mulan.
You've never seen Mulan?
I've never seen Mulan.
We're ending this podcast right now. We'll be back in an hour and 42 minutes.
I will be
Uh,
sleeping by then. Like, and
uh,
I've heard it's a good movie, but like, for one, like I think it's for one, it's a terrible matchup just in general. Like two completely different types of movies. And yes, I know Lilo and Stitch and Lion King. They're very family oriented story arcs. Wreck It Ralph and Mulan.
it's one of the things that I love and hate about this bracket, right? Because this bracket is the seed for this bracket is really well put together. It's the IMDb rankings divided by era, which I think is really cool. But the problem with that is like classic, well, I classic, like millennial Disney to early aughts Disney to modern Disney uh, are different genres, right? I mean, like they're
Mhm.
all kids animated films, but like the stories that Disney was telling in the early 90s compared to the stories that they're telling now are completely different. Just in terms of uh progressiveness, in terms of overall story arcing. It's just changed dramatically. And so like I think Mulan is one of the best movies of its era, and I think Wreck-It Ralph is one of the best movies of its era. It's hard to put those two head to head, and I love that and hate this about this, right? Because it makes it really challenging.
Mhm.
Um, this is one of those ones. Mulan again. I think Mulan is phenomenal, and it's hard for me to say this. I think Wreck-It Ralph has to take this slot for me, just because I'm a big old video game nerd, and I've seen that movie 1,000 times. And
I've
again, if I
I've
was
seen
sitting in
both
front of
of
Disney
them.
Plus right now and I was clicking on one or the other, it would have to be Wreck-It Ralph for me
Yeah.
if I
See,
if I was going to watch something tonight.
and that's where I'm at too. Is Wreck-It Ralph is a great movie, and like I said, I've seen both of them a couple of times. I'm not one to watch a movie more than once. There's a few out there that I have, and that's
I
one
mean,
of
I
them.
have a
Just
toddler, so I've seen Frozen 2 147 times this week.
yeah, see, like my kids prefer to watch, what are they watching nowadays? Music videos on YouTube.
All
But
right, all right, I like it.
um, I'm looking at this list. They don't watch any of these because they're not huge Disney kids. But
So
I think it's just
I guess that's the difference is your kids aren't huge Disney kids, and I am a huge Disney kid. So we I've probably cut this out at this point. Derek's cats are burning his house down. We're both Wreck-It Ralph on this one, right? I'm
both Wreck-It Ralph
it's
were both nerds.
it's a hard call for me, but I have to go Wreck-It Ralph. So bracket three, Aladdin versus Frozen. Um, it's going to be another controversial one. I gotta say
But
Aladdin.
oh, see, and I I'm not a Frozen person, but I base it off of annoyance. When my oldest daughter, I don't even know how old she was. She was my only child when Frozen came out, and she just wasn't into that movie. But seeing Frozen everywhere and hearing that one song on repeat everywhere, it,
Hey
it
man,
killed it for me.
I was working in Disneyland. I was working for Disney when Frozen came out. Trust me, I
Oh,
know what you mean.
oh God. So
Yeah,
I,
man.
I
Frozen's a great movie. Frozen is it's really good. It's so overhyped in my opinion because people talk about it like it is like I that was the thing when Frozen came out. Everybody was like, "Oh, it's better than Lion King," and like everybody with half a brain was like, "No, it's not."
and it's funny though
Here
because
I am
the
slamming Lion King first bracket, but
because the next bracket, which we'll get into it, like Frozen overshadowed everything that came out at that time.
yep.
Everything. And it's because it was that catchy tune and every girl wanted to be
Well, and
Elsa.
it
Like
was the whole like, what's better than one Disney princess? Two Disney princesses. Like,
and I get it. Like little girls want somebody to look up to, but like as dads, because that's this podcast is dads, like Aladdin takes it. A lot of us have probably come from worked our way up. And obviously we don't have magic carpets or genies, even though that would be super fucking awesome. um, we've worked our way up from nothing to where we are at now, or we have plans to get ourselves to that. So I think, I can relate to Aladdin a lot more than I can magical scorpion Mortal Kombat princesses.
yeah, no, for sure. So you mentioned the next one, Big Hero 6 versus Tarzan. The the robot versus the Phil Collins banger.
I mean, you cannot use Phil Collins as your argument. Like that is so unfair.
I mean, the soundtrack for Tarzan, somebody just like lit a drum set on fire and just went to town like the Blue Man Group. It's every single track is cranked to 11, which is both what I love and hate about that soundtrack. Honestly, is it's just Phil Collins going hard the whole movie.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like I love me some Phil Collins, but
It's
like
great.
that is not going to be the reason why Tarzan beats Big Hero 6. Big Hero 6, that is my choice because that is such a great movie. Like so many feelings from the very beginning all the way to the very end. Like grown men will cry watching this movie. Not me, because like I don't know what crying is like for some reason. But like this Big Hero 6 came out at the same time Frozen did.
Yeah.
Around the same time. Like
Was I
obviously I'm
think it
not
was I
saying
think it was the next year or 6 months after.
it was,
But
yeah.
Frozen was still the heat.
And everybody's like, Frozen's still the best. Like nobody cares about this inflatable robot guy. Like, no, inflatable robot guy all day. Like I recently we rewatched this movie last week, I think it was, because it's such a good
Dude,
movie.
it's so good. And like uh Tadashi Hamada is such an iconic character, and that death scene, I guess, hey, spoilers if you haven't seen any of the movies on this bracket, we're going to be talking about these movies. But like Tadashi's death scene was like, I was almost crying in the movie theater. Like it was such a big thing. And then like his hero's like recovery from that and everything. I love Tarzan. Tarzan is like of its era one of my favorite Disney. I mean, I love all Disney movies. So I gotta stop using the word favorite because I'm
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure all these are your favorite.
yeah, it's that everyone's my best friend. Like it completely loses its meaning. Like Tarzan is a phenomenal movie. It's great. It's got a stellar soundtrack. It's a classic story. It's incredibly well animated. All of the animals are like super fun. Big Hero 6 is just inarguably a better movie across the board. The character arcs, the coming together of the team, uh Fred alone, man, I can't tell you how many times my wife and I are like walking someplace in just a droll, boring fashion, and I'm like, the emerald is green. Da, 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 da. It's probably an emerald. Da, 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 da. Like that movie just lives rent free in my brain, man.
Such a great movie, and just the emotions alone. Like Tarzan, if I were to watch Tarzan, I'd be like, cool, I'm watching a movie. But like it doesn't make me feel anything.
I'm sure it is that for some people. And like again, to talk about things my wife and I quote, like "Daddy, they took my boot" is something that my wife says to me probably 3 times a day. But like if I was to just break these down by quotability, then I mean, not to jump ahead, but Emperor's New Groove would win the whole bracket, which it might anyway. Um, so like we can't factor it's one piece of the puzzle, but we can't just look at the quotability of a movie because yeah, they're both phenomenal. But yeah, Baymax is iconic. Big Hero 6 has to take the cake there.
All day. Like people need to go watch it if they have not, and then watch it again because you'll miss a lot of things the first watch.
Yeah.
The first watch.
Uh Next bracket, Zootopia versus Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Another one. I have not seen The Hunchback.
Really? Man, you've just got a chunk missing from your Disney viewing experience, huh? Like
It,
late
it,
90s just didn't do it for you.
it's a long story that we will go over on a different podcast maybe
Fair
one
enough.
day.
Fair enough.
And then once I got older, I never had the urge to go watch a lot of these movies. But like I will say, I'd give it to Hunchback because I was very disappointed in Zootopia. The,
I like go ahead.
I was gonna say the trailers for Zootopia, I was super excited to watch that movie. Like this is gonna be a funny movie, a lot of adult humor in it. Like hell yeah, sit down and watch it. I was like, this actually is pretty boring.
I like both of these movies. Neither I We were joking about in the last bracket about me saying that everything is my favorite. Neither of these are my favorite. Neither of these are top tier for me. I Hunchback of Notre Dame holds a special place in my heart because it's a heart-wrenchingly good movie. It's really, really stellar. And I think out of these two, it's definitely better, but it's still not top bracket for me. Um, Zootopia, kind of what you said, right? Like Zootopia had a lot of really great elements to it, but it felt long. Like it felt
It
so
did.
drawn out and
It
slow
did.
and like not like a children's movie, but like a weird noir film, but trying to be a children's movie. And like I think it was in that era, and we won't we could go down a whole children's movies should just be fun and not about global politics kick here. We won't, because frankly, that would be a whole other episode. But like I think Zootopia was when Disney first kind of started leaning into that, like discussing the more challenging topics that were, politically relevant or socially relevant at the time. I don't know if that's true. I think Disney does a good job of touching on a lot of that in a lot of their films, but it's that, it has elements of addressing racism, right? Where like all foxes are bad type of mentality that the rabbits have, and this predators versus prey, but nobody eats meat, weird like utopia world design element. And I think it was just, it had so much going on, but did it so slowly that I just could never really get into it. And
I can see
it's one of
that. I
those
can see
things,
that.
you said you're a guy who doesn't usually watch movies more than once. I'm a guy who, like, again, I've seen Lilo and Stitch more times than I can count. I've seen Wreck-It Ralph more times than I can count. I've seen most of the movies on this list. And like, I don't sit down and make popcorn and watch it like the first time every time. A lot of the time it's background stuff while I'm folding laundry or whatever. But like, I've maybe seen Zootopia twice since it came out in theaters. Like, I just don't go back to it. It's not a classic. And one of those was the, obligatory introduction of, hey, this is a movie my 2-year-old hasn't watched. Let's see if she likes it.
See, like with Disney Plus, we started going back to the older movies, like the classic, like what Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, like that's what we're putting on. I will go over Zootopia every single time. Like I
Man,
do not care to.
we should throw together, you know what, I'll commit to it right now. We'll put together, like, because it'll be shorter form, we'll put together like a TikTok or an Instagram reel of our favorite Disney Channel original movies, and go through the like Phantom of the Megaplex, Luck of the Irish, Blade. Like, I don't know if I can commit to that, because I think there are like 100 of those. Now that I start running it in my mind, I was like, Disney made one of those a year for like 5 years, and then made like 23 of those a year for like 10 years. I don't know if they're still doing them or not. I'm not hooked into the Disney Channel original media, but maybe we'll throw that together. Maybe we'll throw that on the socials somewhere, because I think that could be fun to look at.
That, yeah,
So
no, that would be,
so we're
but
both agreed. Hunchback of Notre Dame takes the number 4 place, or the number
uh,
5. Where are we at on this bracket?
5. So
Yeah.
yes, Hunchback.
Um,
Just yeah, no, I mean
Hunchback
it's a
over Zootopia.
terrible win for it, but
It's funny. It's funny to me that you give it to Hunchback, even not seeing Hunchback, just because of how disappointing Zootopia was.
yeah, a winner by a winner by default. But like, and I know like a lot of people liked that movie. Like I remember, like I know screen like in my head I see screenshots of it. I know they're singing and all that kind of stuff. Like, and I think that's what kind of like
Yeah,
makes me think that it's a better movie. It's like people put actual thought behind to create this movie.
man. Even if you don't watch that movie, you should listen to the soundtrack, because it is a banger. That soundtrack slaps. It goes big. It's not quite Phil Collins big the whole time, but every track is so good, man. All right,
I mean,
so
Phil
next
Collins.
up, next up, I mentioned it before, the classic versus modern. What ocean do you like best, Little Mermaid or Moana?
So this one is a tough one because I mean, I've seen Moana most recently, obviously. You go through it for me. Convince me that I don't even want to say
Which way do you
convince
want
me.
me to convince you? Because I
No,
could go either way. I know
no.
it's an easy one for me. Um, Little Mermaid is a classic. Moana is a way better film. Moana all the way, 100%. Uh, at its core, The Little Mermaid is about a bratty princess who falls in love with a guy she saw once on a boat and gives up her whole life to chase that guy. It's a terrible lesson to teach your kids if you have daughters. It's not really a great movie. The music is great. It's really fun. It's it's poppy, it's bright, it's exciting. uh Flounder and Sebastian are really fun animal characters, all that. Moana is about a wayfinder who discovers her family, or like her people's past, her hidden culture of the society she lives in, and crosses the ocean to solve their entire problem that was created by a demigod stepping too far and destroying the environment. It's amazing, it's phenomenal, it's just so good. The Rock as Maui lives rent free in my brain
That
all the time. Uh,
was, it
fun
was good
fact,
casting. It was a good
fun fact:
casting.
Alan Tudyk is the chicken in that movie. Alan Tudyk, the robot from iRobot, or Walsh from Firefly, or 100,000 voice characters
He
that he does weird little stuff like that.
what? No, he's in a Heath Ledger movie, is he not? I want to
Yes,
say
he's in. He is in A Knight's Tale.
there we go. Okay, I knew the name
He's
sounded
Wart.
familiar.
Wart. I think it's Wart. Anyway, yes,
Okay,
uh,
same
dude, and
page.
man, Google Alan Tudyk's IMDb sometime. He's the chicken in Moana. He's the Duke of Weaseltown from Frozen. He's a million and one just weird little voice characters, and like mostly like sounds. It's
I
great,
was gonna
great,
say like
love it.
the chicken in
He's also an
Moana.
amazing actor. He's been in a lot of really fantastic stuff, but he like I think just gets bored and does voice acting work because his IMDb page is ridiculous, but it's so good.
Like what? Like the chicken didn't do anything in this movie.
No, I mean it like he squawked and made like chicken noises for the movie. That's why I think it's hilarious that he like they could have clip art cast that, and
Yeah,
instead they got Alan
exactly.
Tudyk, a famous, amazing, incredible voice actor, to go and do it.
It's like having Vin Diesel as Groot. Like, here's your lines. Like, all right, like I got this. Obviously, like different, different
I think
type of
more
acting, but like,
specifically, yeah, I think more specifically it would be like if Vin Diesel was the voice of the engine of the car in Fast and the Furious. Like it's that obscure.
or what am I thinking?
So
Fucking um, Leno, Jay Leno
yeah,
as the cat in South Park.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
So so are you on board? Are you
I
I know you
okay,
said you were
so
kind of
I
50
I
50 on it.
I wasn't really 50-50 because it had been so long since seen Little Mermaid. I wanted to give it a fighting chance. But you kind of hit the nail on the head at the very beginning. Little Mermaid is about a bratty child. I want what I want, and my daddy's gonna give it to me. Like,
Well, my
or
daddy won't give
she,
it to me, and
well,
so I
no,
have
no,
to
her
go
daddy
to an
won't
evil
give it to
witch
her.
to get
Yeah,
it.
so
It's
she's like, yeah, so like, yeah, terrible movie. Don't let your daughters watch this movie. Like you nailed that one. Moana, like I wouldn't say I'd watch it again, but like it was a decent movie.
yeah. Uh Again, classic versus modern. I think this one is a runaway for me. I'm curious what your take is.
I know what you were gonna say on this one.
Tangled versus Hercules.
Are you ready?
You want to go one, two, three, go?
No, I'll just say mine. Like
Oh, do it. Yeah, tell me.
Tangled all day.
Really?
Tangled all day.
Man,
I
I love Tangled. Tangled is such a good movie. Hercules 110%.
see. My wife likes Hercules, and I want to say a couple months ago she put it on. 20 minutes into it, I don't think we ever put it back on. We never finished the movie. I don't know why. I mean, we have children who are just loud and obnoxious and don't watch anything. But like at no point was I like, let's sit down and finish this movie because it's boring to me.
Man.
Like
Uh Hands down, like probably Runaway. I tried not to look at this bracket too much before we recorded this because I
I
wanted to
didn't.
go through some of this live with you and
Yeah.
burn it. I, I think Hercules could be the runaway for me because Hercules is like my wife and I call each other Nutmeg and Wonder Boy. Like we like it is a key piece of it is a formative piece of media in our household, man. Uh like the sass of Megara being like the anti-hero of Disney princesses, that like, I'm a damsel, I'm in distress, I'll handle it, is fucking iconic. Uh her level of sass and Hercules just trying so hard not to fuck up, like, oh man, it's so good. Maybe it's because I relate to it too hard.
Yeah, that
Like,
that might be it. Is like I tried watching it, like, as an adult. Like I said, it was just a couple months ago, and I'd rather go watch paint dry.
man,
I
I will give you, Tangled is exceptional. Like, the most of these movies are based off of ancient archaic fairy tales, and the story of Rapunzel is meh. Um, but like Flynn Rider and Rapunzel in that movie, phenomenal. Like
yes.
the weird social anxiety, agoraphobia, I'm going outside of my house for the first time, the entire Stugly Duckling bar scene, like, it's great. It's fantastic. The music is bar none. Like, could possibly take best soundtrack on this bracket. Um, but man, Hercules just does it for me. It's
I,
this
I
is this
mean,
is one of those. It's definitely a sentimental piece, and everything is subjective. But I gotta go Hercules.
man, to each their own. Like I'm not gonna say you're wrong, but you're wrong. Very,
Fair enough.
I guess.
What sells you? So I've told you what I like about Hercules. Sell me on Tangled. Not that you have to sell me on Tangled. I'll watch it this evening. But
No, don't watch it. You go watch something else. I just I think for one is Flynn Rider. I'm like I like the character, and then when I found out who played him, I was like, I like him even more. Um, and it was just funny, and it caught my attention, and it kept my attention. I think maybe I'm don't go as deep into it as you do, the kind of
yeah,
thing. But and yeah, they were just having a good time. It was fun, and they're mean to each other, kind of
yeah.
thing. And it was I don't know. It was
I
my kind of humor.
An interesting comparison that I've never made until this very moment. Please, our wives, don't listen to this part of the podcast. You like Tangled because you're the Flynn Rider to April's Rapunzel. I like Hercules because Emily is the Meg to my Hercules. Which sounds really arrogant for me to say that out loud, but like, the relationship dynamic between those two couples fits our situations pretty
It
well.
really does. Oh man, maybe
Oh
maybe
man.
it all makes sense now. See, there we go. I don't know how to sell shit. All right.
All right. So last one of the first round of the Disney bracket. I already showed my hand on this one. Beauty and the Beast versus Emperor's New Groove. I'm Team Cusco all the way. What do you think, Derek?
Okay, so I recently watched the new Beauty and the Beast, which obviously is not a fair comparison to the cartoon one.
Yeah.
Okay. But it was refreshing to the story. And I recently watched, I don't even know if we finished it, The Emperor's New Groove. And I'd have to give it to The Emperor's New Groove just because, like, the comedy that's in it.
Yeah. It's
And like you said,
phenomenal.
the quotability, the one liners, like they're all there.
Yeah. It's funny. It's witty. It's quick paced. It's hilarious. The pregnant wife is like one of my favorite. Like, I need to clean something. Is just so good.
And I'm not a huge, what is it, David Spade? Not a huge David Spade fan.
Yeah.
Like, but I think he does a good job in that
Uh,
movie.
Bet one of your favorite movies is Joe Dirt.
I
Like,
I enjoy Joe Dirt. I don't enjoy David Spade that
okay,
much.
okay, I'll give you that differentiation. Um,
So I'd give it just for comic relief. Like if you have it in the background and you have it when you're done folding a towel and you look at the TV and you hear one line, you're like, all right, this is
yeah,
why I like this movie.
yeah, for sure. Okay, so that finishes the first round of Disney bracket. 1st 2 pairings, we have, 'Beauty and the Beast versus Emperor's New Groove. I'm Team Cusco all the way. What do you think, Derek?
I,
We have, On the Derek bracket, Lion King versus Wreck-It Ralph. On my bracket, Lilo and Stitch versus Wreck-It Ralph. I'm gonna make a predictive guess and say for both of us, Wreck-It Ralph takes this one.
Wreck-It Ralph takes that one.
Yeah, Wreck-It Ralph. Uh, it's a tough save, a tough choice for me, but it's got to go Wreck-It Ralph. Second bracket, we've got Aladdin versus Big Hero 6. This is a tough one. I'm going to give it to Big Hero 6. What do you think, Derek?
Yeah, no, Big Hero 6, definitely.
Yep, for all the reasons that we hyped up Big Hero 6 in the first place. All right, next bracket down. Hunchback of Notre Dame versus Moana.
Moana, obviously.
It's Moana for me. It's got to be. And then this last one, Emperor's New Groove versus Hercules on my bracket, Tangled on yours. Where do you fall? Emperor's New Groove, Tangled is a tough pairing.
It really is. Fuck. Like I thought it was easy, and then I started thinking about it. I need to flip a coin on that. This is a tough one.
So I will say for me, Hercules versus Emperor's New Groove. Personally, for what the movies mean to me, Hercules is going to be a runaway. I think objectively speaking, Emperor's New Groove is a better movie for the comedy, the flow of the movie, all of the different characters and their character development arcs. I got to give that one to Emperor's New Groove.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm going to go with Emperor's New Groove on that one.
Okay. Well, that makes the next round easier because it means that we're on the same page across the board. So now we've got, you know what? I'm going to start with the second one because I think the other one is the most challenging. Moana versus Emperor's New Groove. I vote Emperor's New Groove all the way. They're both really good, but I have to give it to Emperor's New Groove.
I think story based, the story that it's telling, I think Moana's got it.
Yeah. Like, I will say there is more of a moral arc or a spiritual developmental arc in Moana than there is in.
I think that's why I've got to give it to Moana on that one. Because like I like movies that have a deeper meaning, and I say that if you look at my bracket, it doesn't make sense. But like, for comic relief, obviously Emperor's New Groove, but for an actual story that will teach you something that adults can enjoy, that children won't get it, but that adults can enjoy because, you know, as dads, we have to sit here and watch these movies with our children. Moana takes it.
I respect that choice, and you make a very strong argument for it. I will say the underlying current, the main character plot development, right, of Cusco through Emperor's New Groove is the lesson that friendship and family and camaraderie and people matter more than stuff, right? It's the selfish prince who wants to build himself a summer vacation home, finding out that having people in his life who care about him and being a good person matters more than being a tyrannical dictator of an emperor. So I think there's a strong story case for both of them. But I'm still gonna go Emperor's New Groove for me.
But I feel like Emperor's New Groove is, well, yes, that story is there. I feel like Moana holds true to what it's trying to say the entire movie, and it's not hidden behind a bunch of jokes.
Okay, I'll give that to you. It's more serious. It's more focused.
Yes.
All right. Probably the most challenging question of the night: Wreck-It Ralph versus Big Hero 6.
I think on an emotional level, I have to give it to Big Hero 6. Like, really? I am not an emotional person, but I like to think I can feel things sometimes. And Big Hero 6 gets me, especially at the beginning. Like, I was, you know, I love my brother so fucking much. And like, he was my entire world, my entire life. And I think that's probably why I hold on to it. And then, you know, Baymax being his friend.
Yeah. Well, like, and that pseudo replacement for his big brother, right? That like exactly. Kind of it fills the void that was left
And I think that's why I have to give it to Big Hero 6, because I can relate to this movie on a personal level.
Yeah, I can respect that. I like that. For me, it's got to be Wreck It Ralph, man. The nerd in me. This is nerd on nerd, right? This is video game nerd versus Japanese and engineering nerd. Like this is that's why this bracket is hard for me. But Wreck It Ralph, just it's such a good movie, man, and like I emotionally connect with that movie. Uh like my wife and I's first date was the night of Halloween after I was coming from a party dressed as Fix It Felix. So like if that tells you enough about me, like there's a golden hammer right there in my office. Like that movie holds a very special place in my heart. And I think that you're right. That from a grander storied point of view and from an emotional point of view, Big Hero 6 probably hits harder. But for me personally, I gotta go Wreck It Ralph. I will say, if we're talking about emotionally, Iron Giant isn't on this bracket, and I cry at that movie every time I watch it. So we're lucky it's not there, because if we were purely basing it off of emotions, Iron Giant is the movie that makes grown men cry. At least one of us.
At least one of us.
All right. So then we're back off bracket. Your final is Big Hero 6 versus Moana. What's the drum roll, please?
God, this is a difficult one, because just because each has a great story that tell that, you're encompassing an entire people versus a single person.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it to Moana, because she is trying to help the bigger picture and not just herself. I just, for that, because as dads we have to be there for all of us and not just single-handedly.
See
So
that? Respect.
I'll give it to Moana. Weirdly enough, I will give it to Moana.
Yeah. Mine comes down to Wreck It Ralph versus Emperor's New Groove, which, whew, man, talk about a coin flip. I gotta give it to Emperor's New Groove. It holds a special place in my heart. It's hilarious. I've seen it. I've seen both of those movies far too many times, admittedly. But Emperor's New Groove is it's such a good movie, man. And it's funny because I think looking at this list, the far left, without actually seeing any of the bracket, I would have pegged that Emperor's New Groove would probably be the runaway favorite for me, and it seems like you wouldn't have guessed that Moana was going to be your final
I
pick.
know I didn't. Like, I'm looking at this and I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe that.
Yeah,
Like, I thought Big Hero 6 was gonna take that one.
nice. Uh, we have gone almost a full episode just talking about this Disney bracket. Should we continue on and just have an extra long episode? I think the Pixar bracket's going to go faster,
I
or
think it
we could make the Pixar bracket take longer and meet you in a part 2 for this episode. What do
we
you think, Derek?
I think it'll go faster, but I think we'll still have I think we'll have to do a part two on this one,
Yeah,
because
I
there's a
like
lot
it.
of good choices. I mean, I'm not going to tell you, but like that one, don't care. That one, easy, easy, don't care. So yeah, no, it'll still, because
It's funny because I think I can tell you. I think I can tell you blind. I'm gonna write down on a post-it note what yours is gonna be and what mine is gonna be. Just looking at that far side, and I think I know it, but I'm
I
curious
don't
to see.
see. I don't know.
So yeah, I guess we'll see you in a part 2. We're gonna take a little break here because I was worried we wouldn't be able to get enough content out of this Disney Pixar bracket, and it turns out we can do quite a bit of rambling about Disney and Pixar films.
It goes a lot deeper, especially like as adults. It goes a lot deeper into what these
Yeah.
movies actually mean,
Well,
now that
and
we
the
can
dive
understand
into
them.
the dive into the why, I think, is what adds the value here, right? Because if we just went into I like Emperor's New Groove best, Like that's easy to say, but the why, sell me on it, right? Tell me what you like about it.
Exactly.
So tell us below. Tell us, if you're watching this on YouTube, comment it down in the comments. If you're listening to the podcast feed of this, email us or hit us
Instagram
up,
or
DM us on Instagram or Twitter. Tweet at us and tell us why we're wrong. Tell us which of these bracket lineups I was right about and Derek was wrong about. Tell us which I'm wrong about and Derek is right about. Did we land on your favorite Disney movies? Emperor's New Groove and Mulan, or sorry, Emperor's New Groove and Moana, or are we completely off base? Where did you land? And catch us on part 2 for the Pixar side of this, because
yes, this will be a
that'll be a
good one.
whole nother breakdown. Well, thanks for joining us this week. We always appreciate everybody who's listening to this podcast and watching us on YouTube. We're just here to try to make dads feel seen and be a light in the darkness that is parenting sometimes, because it's a hard job being a dad. And I think this was a great episode to highlight some of the fun that comes out of being a dad, right? Yes. I mean, like, I've been a Disney kid my whole life, but Derek, I think you mostly watch animated movies for your kids, right? So
yeah, that's true.
It's always good to get those laughs and smiles in where we can. Glad that you could join us for that ride. So until next week, I'm Andrew Goody.
I'm Derek Mata.
And we are proud of you. Thanks, everyone.